What's up, all you horror movie loving fuckers? I'm Jay, and welcome to another episode of Triple FMK, where I watch the horror movies and I tell you if I'd rather fuck it, marry it, or kill it. On this episode, we're covering the movie Lamb. Now, before we get into this, I'm already about 3 Jack and Cokes into this thing already before I ever push fucking record. So, should have a good time tonight, but Jack and Coke break right there. Thank you. Um, this movie 2021, Lamb. Um, I came across this one. I'd seen it scrolling through, seen a few comments on it, and honestly, I did not think I would really be into it. I was just kind of like, oh, that just looks kind of not that great. And I decided to finally sit down and give it a watch. And when I did, I decided, hey, I want to do a show on this. So as you all know, the way we do this here on Triple FMK is I watch the movie, I rate it on whether or not I will fuck it, marry it, or kill it. And it's just like the old game, a lot of people play it, give you 3 names, which one would you fuck, marry, or kill? So that's kind of how I do the horror movies. Marrying it means that's I could watch it every day. I could spend every day with it, cuddled up next to it, spooning with it, holding hands, that's marrying it. If I want to fuck it, that's just what it is. It's a booty call. It's every now and then when at home one night, lonely, had a few drinks, ain't got shit to do, just reach over and decide, hey, I want to pop this in, and so it's just like a booty call. And so every now and then when the mood hits you, when I on a kill, it means I never want to watch it again. It's forgettable. I can put it away. I never have to see it again. I don't. It's a kill, done, one and done. It's over with. Um, when I came across this one, I was like, it's different, and so I wanted to give it a try. I wanted to see. I haven't really read much on it. Didn't really look into many reviews. The cover art on the video of the cover art with her on the front of it holding the lamb, it kind of gave me a like, what the hell is this about? But we're going to dig into this and we're going to talk about it. And I posted earlier in the week that I was going to be watching the movie Lamb, and I warned you when I posted it. I was like, go ahead and go check it out before Friday, which is when you should be listening to this or watching. Because I want to get on here and I'm going to spoil the shit out of it. Then I want to let you know if I'd rather fuck it, marry it, or kill it. So you've had time to watch it. There will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, if you're listening to this and be like, oh shit, I haven't seen it, well, pause it, go watch it, come back, because I am going to give spoilers. I'm not going to try to, beat around the bush, try to keep things, because fuck it. I'm just going to go with it. This week on the plays of last week's show, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I appreciate the plays. I appreciate the downloads. If you liked it, if you subscribed to the show, if you followed it, whatever, commented, hey, I definitely appreciate it. I still yet have figured out how to get into that whole. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't really care what the numbers are because I'm just here to do this, just talk shit about horror movies. So, but if you did, I appreciate it. So we're going to jump into this. And before I get going, earlier today, I was strolling through TikTok. And because, fuck, TikTok is like a black fucking hole. You get in that thing, and next thing you know, you scroll for fucking 45 minutes. And I got into that, and I came across the video of Adam Lambert, which was on American Idol. And he had to do that game show or music show where he had to pick a song. It gave him a song and then an artist. And so he had to do the Muffin Man in the voice of Cher. And so I came across that and listened to it. And now that song is stuck in my head. And Adam Lambert, I'm a huge fan of him. And he just totally fucking nailed that song. And so now that song stuck in my head. So I'm trying to keep that part out. If there's a pause and I start humming like the song that Cher did, I can't remember the name of it, but Adam Lambert, fucking awesome. And but yeah, and another thing I want to cover real quick before I get into this, I was messaged earlier this week and was told, because I think they seen that it was a newer podcast that I started doing, and they told me that I should not curse as much. Like, yeah, told me that I would do better if I did not curse. Well, hold on one second. Gentleman Jack break. Thank you. First of all, I'm not here to please the masses, and I'm not going to change how I am, change the way I talk or anything. So my goal today is to drop as many cuss words as possible in this podcast show. Just because, fuck you for just fuck you. I'm gonna be me. Like I said, I'm not here to please anybody. I'm here to have a good time. We're gonna talk some shit, and we're gonna get in this movie. And like I said, I don't spoil the shit out of it. So here we go. The movie Lamb, 2021 folk horror film. I have to say that slow because it don't roll off my tongue just right. Like folk horror film, directed by, and I've told you before, I'm terrible with names, and these are some names that I want to try. But written and directed by Vladimir Johansson. Vladimir Johansson. I watched this on Showtime because it's part of I think it's part of Amazon packet. No, my Paramount Plus, maybe, whatever. I got Showtime. And so that's where I watched it on. But I think you can also get it on Amazon Prime. Some of the cast in this, the cast is short. Not many people in this movie. I'm going to have to Naomi Rapace as Maria. I'm not even going to try to say these damn names. We're going to go at it this way. Maria and Ingvar are a married couple. Maria and Ingvar, husband and wife. We're going to get into the plot of this movie. And first, I don't want to, God, I almost want to change it up a little bit and kind of give you my rating on this before I go into it and start talking about it. And it's fucking my show. I can do what I want. But I went back and forth on this one as far as the rating, because it was the first time I watched it, and then I watched it a second time because I like to kind of, you miss things the first time you watch something. You go back and you catch that second time, and there's a lot of things you pick up on that you may have missed in the first one. And so, and I did. There was certain things about it that I picked up and liked more the second time I seen it, and there's some things I liked less the second time I seen it. So I'm just going to give my rating on this now before I get into it. This is, you got the fuck line, and then you got the married line. It is right there on that line of almost being a Mary to me, because I watched it the first time and I went back and watched it the second time. After the second time, I kind of knew what was coming, and so it took a little bit off of it, but not a lot. Like I said, it is right there at the marry and fuck. And if I had to pick one, I would say it's a fuck. It's a very, very, very good fuck for me. Almost a marry. And when I talk about it, I'll explain, you'll understand why that it can't really cross over to a marry. Because the first time I watched this, as soon as I was done with it, I was like, it's a fucking marry. And see how I dropped another fuck word? Yep. Fuck you, guy who told me to not say fuck that much on my show. But yeah, I watched it the first time and I was like, oh, yep, that's a marry. And I was dead set on that. And then I watched it the second time just a few days later because I like to be fresh on them. And I watched it the second time and kind of knowing what was coming, it kind of made me be like, maybe I can't. Being a married is something I could pop in every day and want to watch. And with this one, I don't think I'd want to watch it every day. So for me, it's going to be a fuck, but like I said, a really, really good fuck. So I'm going to go into the plot of this, and we're going to get into the spoilers, and I want to talk about what went on. And so this is where the spoilers, if you haven't seen it, pause it, go watch it, then come back. But the plot is about the plot of this is the birth of a human/sheep hybrid. You heard me right. Human and a sheep. And basically this married couple who is Maria and Ingvar, they basically come across this lamb human hybrid and decide to like bring it in to their own. Like they want to adopt it. And this is kind of what the plot is. This movie takes place in Iceland. They speak Icelandic. I'm fucking that up. But so the movie is subtitles, of course, but which is fine. But when this thing starts off, it's in Iceland. They're out there. I want to live where Maria and Ingvar are living. They're in the surrounded by all these mountains in the middle of nowhere. There's no neighbors. Like it is just the whole scene, the way that the area, the look of everything is so fucking nice. And I love that part right out of the gate. When this movie starts off, it starts you off with this snowy weather and something's coming through the snow, and you come across this like a herd of horses. And you can tell those horses see something because something spooks them, because they start running one way and then they cut back the other way. And you can tell something scared them off, like an entity or something. And you can kind of hear it breathing as this is going on. And this thing, whatever it is, makes its way to the barn where Maria and Ingvar, they have a sheep farm out in the middle of all this lovely area in Iceland, and they raise sheep. And so this thing, or whatever it is, you never see it. It's just, you can just tell it's like from that is his field of view of coming, and he makes his way to the sheep barn. And then you can tell when he comes in, the sheep are kind of looking up at something. You can tell they see something, and they're not fucking happy about it. They're kind of nervous. So they start making all little bah, and they start trying to get the hell out of there type thing. And so you see them all kind of running away and pushing out, trying to get through away from it. Well, then you don't really see nothing else. Well, then the next thing you know, this one sheep comes walking out of like the little pen area where all of them are. And it comes walking out, and you can just tell that it's all kind of like fucked up, and it just kind of falls over, and just falls over right there. Well, then it kind of jumps to Maria and Ingvar, and it just kind of shows them working on their sheep farm and all this land they got, and super nice. And that's one of the things I liked was just the shot of the area they were in. And the thing about this movie that kind of gets me is I kind of got an idea of what it was going to be about when I see the her on the front of the movie cover holding this lamb, sheep, whatever. And it made me wonder, like, okay, if it's going to be this like mix between a goat and a fucking human, and it made you feel almost uncomfortable. It was kind of like you knew what was coming, and you were just waiting on it. You didn't know how it was going to happen, but you're just sitting there waiting on it. And I not many movies do that to me. You can tell with Maria and Ingvar how they just kind of going through the motions, every day. You can tell that like they've buried themselves in their work, their farm, their taking care of their land, and it's just like they've got this schedule. Maria, just by seeing her and by watching her, you can just tell she's not happy. And of course, what you come to find out later is apparently her and Ingvar had a child that passed away. And so it was like they've just buried themselves in work. Maria's like almost comes across depressed to a point, because she just looks like she's just ready for something better or needs something. And one day, Maria and Ingvar are sitting outside the barn where they have the sheep. They're taking a break. They got the coffee out, taking a little break. And I don't know how it is in Iceland. I don't know if they have like certain times of the year where it's like daylight all day long and it never gets dark. I'm thinking maybe it is because in this movie it never fucking gets dark. It's always light looking outside. So I thought to myself, maybe a certain time of the year they get so many months of just daylight. And so I couldn't really tell. I would see them go to sleep sometime and it'd still be daylight outside. So that's what I assumed. So this one part, they're taking a break. Well, earlier they showed them giving birth to some of the sheep that they had. They were making a delivery, and it was very, very, very realistic. Maybe it fucking was real. I don't know, but it looked fucking real with her pulling that baby sheep out of mama's ass, and then it just kind of flops on the ground. And God, anybody that knows me, I'm not a fan of childbirth. I find that, people say, oh, it's beautiful, blah, blah. No, gross to me. I can watch a lot of shit in horror movies. I love gory. I love all that shit. But, anything with birthing anything just kind of that's like my one thing that just, God, that fucking creeps me out. And so when these little, they deliver a couple of these little sheep, and you kind of see it up close. And kudos if it was real, okay. If it was fake, then you did it well done. And so now we're back to them taking a break outside the barn. They're having their coffee and stuff like that. Well, they have a dog that Ingvar just calls him Dog. I don't know if the dog even fucking had a name, but he calls him. But they hear the dog inside the sheep barn. And he's making some weird sounds. So they get up. Maria and Ingvar, they go inside the barn. They come across this one sheep, and she's in labor. The dog's kind of looking at her. So they go through the process of, helping this mama lamb, sheep, whatever, give birth. And so as they're pulling it out, the camera doesn't show anything. But when they pull it out, you could tell it's out and it's like in front of them. And Ingvar and Maria have this look on their face. Like, I don't know, like they're shocked and surprised, and you don't see anything. All you see is Maria. He basically hands Maria the lamb, and you can see the lamb's head, and she like wraps it up, and then she kind of takes it into the house. And I'm thinking, God, I don't know what I was thinking in that moment. That's what I said. It made you feel uncomfortable. Like, what is it? Like, what is this? And she takes it into the house. And I'm thinking, I don't know. God, I don't fucking know what I was thinking. Like I'm telling you, it was one of those that just made you feel uncomfortable because you just fucking wanted to know and you didn't know. But Maria picks the lamb up. She goes into the house with it, and it shows her. They have the lamb. It's all wrapped up in a little blanket. They got like a big, like, wash tubs back in, I know what a wash tub is. Some people might not, but I know what a wash tub is. That's kind of what she had. And had the blanket in there, and she had this little lamb in there. Well, then her and Ingvar are in the kitchen with this. The lamb's laying there in the big wash tub, and Ingvar pulls out the bottle, just like you would like a newborn type animal, and they don't have mama's tit to suck on. They just put the bottle in his mouth, which was odd to me because on the two births, I don't fuck that word up. Anyway, when the lambs had babies earlier, one of the things they did was Maria made the lamb kind of lock on to mama's titty and start trying to suck the milk. But with this one, she like snatches it up, goes into the house, and then they're got a bottle, and they're like bottle feeding it. And it was one of those like it was just uncomfortable. Sitting there trying to figure out like what is going on. And while the baby's in there, they have it all wrapped up. And then you're sitting there going like, what the hell? Hold on one second. I don't know what okay, there we go. The mama lamb, while they had the house in the lamb was in the house. I apologize for that. My computer did something stupid, and so I had to fuck with it. But I don't edit shit, so we're just going to roll with it. Hold on, let me get a gentleman jack break. Okay, I'm back. Thank you. Now, while they had the baby in the house, only thing you ever see is this baby laying in the little wash tub with a blanket over it, and you just see the head. Well, then while the baby's in the house, you start hearing mama lamb, mama sheep outside the window. Like mama knows that you took her baby and her baby's in that house. And so she's outside the window making all her little like bat sounds. And it's got to be kind of awkward because like they're literally sitting in the bedroom with the little baby lamb, and mama lamb's outside, mama sheep's outside, like, what the fuck? Where's my baby at? And so one day, while they were doing some work around the house, Marie had gone out to do some stuff. And she was working outside, and then Ingvar decided he was going to stay there in the house and watch after the baby. Well, the baby lamb or whatever. But they decided to name this lamb. They named it Ada, A-D-A, Ada, whatever. And they named it, come to find out, this is named it after Maria's deceased daughter. Like the daughter they had that passed away, they named this baby lamb, sheep, whatever, after it, which was fucking creepy. But and so one day Maria's outside doing her whatever her farming shit is they doing. Ingvar's in the house. Ingvar puts the goat, baby sheep, lamb down for a little nap, goes out to the barn doing some shit. They both come back in. Well, then Ada, baby sheep, is missing. They're looking around the house, can't find her. They look around for a little while and they finally hear something. Maria hears something and she goes out there and they start running out into the open field. That's where they find Ada is out in the field with the mama sheep, the one who's been outside the window for so long. And so then when Maria reaches down to pick up Ada, the baby sheep, at that moment is when you see that Ada is part sheep, part human. Like, it's got a body of a human, like from like the neck, shoulders down. Then it's got a sheep head, and then like one of its arms is like a goat leg, but the other arm is like a regular human arm. So it's like a mix between this. And so when you finally see it, it's like, oh, it was so weird because you knew it was coming. If you've looked into anything about this movie, you kind of know that it is like, you know, half sheep, half human type thing, which they did a very good job, in my opinion, of. It didn't look cheap. It didn't look like, you know, they'd thrown a mask on something and just kind of whatever. So it actually looked pretty good. And that's when you first get the look of Ada, you know, the mix, the hybrid. So it kind of goes forward. And one night, I say night because once again, it's still daylight outside, but they're in bed sleeping. So I say night. But trying to sleep, Maria's woken up. Maria's woken up by the sounds of the mama sheep is outside the window, still doing her little bad, you know, because she fucking knows her baby's up in there. Well, Maria gets up, goes downstairs, grabs the gun out of the little barn shed, grabs the rifle, goes around the corner of the house, and there's mama sheep outside the window just wanting to know where her baby is. Just being like, hey, you know, I know my baby's up in there. Like, what's up? Well, then Maria, cold-hearted, goes straight up to the mama sheep, shoots her in the fucking head. Just kills mama sheep right outside the window. I don't know what kind of shit they had on that little rifle, whatever she shot, but it was real quiet. Didn't wake up nobody because the Ingvar was still up in the house asleep. So she shoots this mama sheep right in the head, kills it, and then proceeds to drag it off out into the middle of the field and buries it. And not a fucking deep hole. It didn't look that deep. Like she just kind of dug it deep enough to get mama sheep in the hole. And then she covered that shit up. Well, during this, while she's doing this on the way back, Then we bring in Ingvar's brother, Peter. Peter, who has shown up to, Peter must have been some kind of fucking troublemaker or something. Because there's a part in there where it shows him people kind of drop him off out in the middle of nowhere. He just kind of comes across somebody who like got in trouble, owed some people some money type shit, trying to get away. But he shows up wanting to, I guess, basically look for a place to lay his head at because he didn't have nowhere else to go. Well, Peter sees all of this go on. He's kind of, you see him off to the side of the barn, and he sees that she had drugged this sheep out there. Well, the next morning, Ingvar and Peter sleeps out in the barn. And you're kind of thinking like, is Peter just some random stranger that just showed up in the middle of the night? You know, because it shows him the next morning sleeping on a couch that's out in the barn. And you're like, dude, this fucking stranger just going to show up and crash in your barn. Well, then he comes out, and then you realize that Ingvar knows him and is his brother. You know, basically, like I said, looking for a place to stay. They stand outside, they talk for a minute. Well, then Ingvar basically asks Peter, like, hey, are you hungry? And he's like, oh, I'm starving. So he's like, come on inside. We got some food. And when he sits down at the table, he goes in, hugs Maria. You know, they know each other, sister-in-law, whatever. And basically sits down, and he sees another plate at the table, and he makes a comment like, you know, are you expecting somebody or something along those lines? Well, then he hears Ingvar say, Ada, come downstairs, honey. Well, Peter knows that they had a daughter named Ada that had passed away. Excuse me. So he's kind of looking kind of like, what? Well, then Peter's sitting down to eat. They all sit down. Well, here comes the first real shot of Ada. She comes walking into the kitchen, like got some little pants on, some little galosha boots, a sweater, dressed like just a little girl. She comes and sits down at the table, getting ready to eat. And Peter's looking at her like almost in shock. Like, what? And he doesn't say anything. It's just this awkward type, you know, Peter was better than me. Because as soon as that little fucking thing came around the corner, I'd have been like, what the fuck is that? You know, I'd have stepped away from the table. Like, there'd have been, you got some fucking explaining to do, Ingvar. But it's just this weird awkward when she's sitting there and Ada's sitting there to give her something to eat. And they have this little whole conversation type thing. Well, then it shows at some point they're outside working. Ingvar and Peter are like painting the house. And then it shows Maria and Ada in the bathtub together playing. Like they're splashing water. Like Maria's in one side of the tub. You know, little hybrid Ada is on the other side, like splashing, like mom and daughter type thing. Like she has embraced this Ada as her daughter now, new daughter, adopted daughter. And well, then Peter comes inside the house and he goes down there and he kind of looks through the door and can see in the mirror of them two in the bathtub together. Well, Ingvar notices that Peter isn't there. So he comes into the house while Peter's coming up the stairs. And Ingvar kind of looks at him, and Peter finally comes out. And he was just like, he asked Ingvar, he was like, what the fuck is this? And all Ingvar says is happiness. Like they have that piece that was missing from their life when their daughter passed. Now Ada is filling that void. So now they're happy with what they have. It's like their family now, you know. And so you just think that, you know, Peter just don't get it. Peter's kind of like, what the fuck? Well, then a day or two later, I can't really tell how far it is, but the next day or whatever, we'll say next day, they're out there in the field planting little like potatoes. They're on the tractor planting potatoes, and they go and take a break. And this is where it kind of like Maria and Peter, you kind of be like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? Because when they take a break, Ingvar is with the dog, and he's like calling for Ada to come over there. Well, then Peter walks over to the truck where Maria's got like some coffee and like she made some sandwiches that day. And Peter basically almost asked her, like, what are y'all doing? Like, what are you doing like with this animal, you know, and you could tell that Maria don't want to hear that. Well, then there's a part where Peter reaches over and touches Maria's face. And you kind of picked up right then that there's a little history between those two, a little possible sexual history that you kind of see. And it just kind of stops at that. She's just kind of like, why are you doing that? Don't be so childish type thing. And so right then I'm kind of like, oh, okay. So Peter and Maria may have had a little something in the past, you know. And then the next day, Ingvar comes downstairs. They're working out in the barn. They're cleaning out the shed or whatever. He basically wakes Peter up. Hey, come out here and help us. Peter goes out there. You can tell he don't really want to. They go out there and he's helping them clean this barn out. And this is where you see Peter start almost like teasing Ada. And he's sitting out front of the little barn, and Ada comes around the corner and he like pulls some grass up, and he's kind of like holding the grass out in front of her and basically like, here, sheepy, you know. And she comes over there and she tries to grab it with her like human hand, going to grab the grass. And he's like, no. And then she kind of squats down. He like starts feeding her like in her mouth, like, you know, how a goat or sheep would eat. When Ingvar shows up, that pisses him off. He grabs Ada in anger and just kind of walks away. Well, Peter, the brother, decides he's going to take some shit in his own hands. Peter one morning just goes and gets Ada, takes her out into the field, a little walk together. Well, he had grabbed the damn gun on the way out. He was going to kill her. Like, his plan was to take her out there, fucking shoot her, and be done with it. Well, he gets out there in the field, and guess what? Change of heart. Does not want to kill her. Well, then next morning, Maria wakes up. Ada's not in the fucking crib, because at some point, Ingvar pulls out a crib that they had for their daughter, and he pulls it out, and they set that up in the bedroom. That's where Ada was sleeping at. Well, she didn't see her in there. She comes downstairs, comes around the corner. Well, fucking Peter is cuddled up on the little chair with Ada. Like, she's sleeping in his arms. They're both knocked out. So I don't know what happened out there to where he was about to fucking put a bullet in her head, but something changed. He came back, and now they're all like, you know, lovey, like he's almost like Uncle Peter now to her. Eventually they decide they're like really bonding. They're like really getting along. Well, Peter wants to take Ada out for a trip, a little fishing trip. He gets the tractor loaded up. You got a little hybrid Ada in the cab of the tractor with him. They're rolling out to go, to go do some fishing. Well, then fucking for the first time in this whole fucking movie, like, Ingvar and Maria act like they actually liked each other. Like, liked. Because it shows them as Peter's riding off with fucking Ada, then Ingvar got his hands around Maria. You know, they get to stay back. They basically got a babysitter for the day. You know, Ingvar's kind of excited. They got the house to themselves. And so they have a little, they do their thing. They, you know, it shows them up in the bedroom doing some damn loving on each other. You get to see some boobies. You know how I feel about that. Big fan. Very nice. Very nice. Kudos to Maria. Very nice itty bitty titties. But they have a little session together, and which was because the whole movie you just tell like Maria was just kind of like almost like didn't want to be there. But like I said, Ada has came along and changed everything for them. You could tell that they're happy with Ada. And then even with Peter has got him thinking like, you know, even he's kind of grown into it to where he's like Uncle Peter now. Well, on the way back from the fishing trip, tractor breaks down. Peter has to leave the tractor, walks back with Ada. Basically tells them like the tractor broke down. Well, later that evening, they're all sitting around watching some type of sports game. I don't know what they're watching. But it's the three of them, and they're like yelling at the TV. They're drinking. They're having a good time. Well, Ada gets up and goes outside at some point during all this. And when she goes outside, she sees whatever that entity was in the beginning, where the horses and everything ran away. she sees something because then the dog's out there with her. The dog comes around the corner. The dog's kind of making some noise. When Ada comes around the corner of the barn, she sees it. Well, then dog tries to be a hero. He goes after it. And you can tell that he kills the dog. So animal lovers, hey, the dog dies. But then Ada goes running back into the house. And so as they're still partying it up inside, dancing and stuff like that. Well, Ingvar passes out. And after he passes out, Peter tries to make a little move on Maria. Well, Maria kind of rejects him. You know, Peter, fuck you. Basically tells her, he almost tries to blackmail her because he wants some fucking pussy from her, I guess. He basically tells her that he knows that she killed the mama sheep and that he was basically going to threaten to tell Ada about it and all this other shit just so he can get some, you know, piece of shit. Well, Maria pretends to seduce Peter. She gives him a little kiss on him a little bit. Peter thinks, oh shit, this is it. And she kind of opens up this door, like, and you just assume that they're gonna go fuck off in this little room. But since she shoves Peter in there, locks the door. And I'm like, oh, okay, kudos to you, Maria. So she wakes up that next morning. When she wakes up, she's basically packing a fucking bag. She's gonna put Peter on a bus, the first thing popping out of town. She basically gets his bag, gives him some money, drives him to the bus stop, basically tells him that she's focused on getting, you know, her family and her life and all that. That's what she wants to focus on, puts Peter and gets him out of there. Well, Ingvar wakes up that same morning. Maria's gone, Peter's gone, and don't leave a fucking note. Like, you could at least leave some type of note. Like, hey, going to the store, going to something. But no, just head left. So Ingvar comes out looking for him, couldn't find him. So he decides to grab Ada. And they're going to go out there to the tractor, which broke down when they were coming back from the fishing trip. He's got some oil, gasoline, whatever, to take it out there and try to start this thing back up. So it shows them going out there to the tractor. After Maria drops off Peter at the bus stop. Hold on one second there, people. Gentleman Jack break, thank you. Had an itch in my throat. But Maria's on her way back. She comes back to the farm, and Ingvar and Ada is nowhere to be found. Well, then this is where it all comes to a head. This is the twist that had you kind of like, what the fuck? Wow. Next thing you know, it shows Ingvar standing there with blood just gushing out of his neck. And you're like, what? And then the camera shows you that Ada has a daddy. Daddy is a hybrid, like ram human thing. And he has the gun, and he basically shot Ingvar. And he basically reaches down, grabs Ada, pulls Ada away, and they start walking off into the fucking sunset. So the entity at the beginning was this ram human just looking to fuck something. And he goes and fucks this mama sheep, impregnates her. And then fucking Maria kills mama sheep. Now here is daddy hybrid is back, and he grabs up Ada, and they're like walking off together. And Maria is running everywhere trying to find him. When she finally comes across him, she sees Ingvar laying out in the field. She gets there just as Ingvar is passing away. You know, Ingvar, gone. Well, then here we have Maria, who has now went through the loss of her own daughter, and now has gone through once again this loss of, in her mind, that was her daughter, an adopted daughter. Ada was, yes, she was a hybrid, whatever, but for her, she loved it. That was her baby. And so now she's lost Ada, and she's also lost Ingvar, her husband. You know, all in this one moment. gone. And that's kind of how this thing comes to an end, is Maria out there in the middle of all this land and realizing that she's lost everything. And that's how it wraps up. And it was a very different movie. It was a movie that I never would have guessed I would be willing to fuck almost marry, because it's normally not my type of movie. I'm more of the, slasher, blood, gory. This one really has no kills other than the end when the daddy hybrid kills Ingvar. That was basically it. Nothing really bloody, nothing really gory about it, unless you count them fucking sheep being born. Ugh. But other than that, it was just, and it almost, some people may look at it and be like, well, I don't classify it as horror, but depends on how you look at it. I looked at this movie because it made me feel uncomfortable in the beginning. It made me feel a certain kind of way that movies don't normally make me feel, because I kind of knew what was coming. I knew it had something to do with a half lamb, half human type thing, but I didn't know how it was all going to come together. So it made me feel uncomfortable watching it. I was anticipating it, and I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. I would have just never would have guessed I would have enjoyed everything about it. I loved the way they shot it at, the scenery out in the middle of these mountains. There's not a lot of talking. It's subtitles in it, but it's not a lot of chit chat throughout the movie. There's a lot of silence. Not really silence. They got sound to go with it, and the music and the stuff. Everything just, for me, just went together really good. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised by this one. I did not think I would. So for me, 2021 Lamb. It is God, it's right there. It's a fuck, but it's a good fuck. But definitely recommend it. Definitely check it out. Definitely know that it's something different. It's something that's going to be, have an open mind when you watch it. Like, if you haven't watched it, have an open mind about it. Go into it and be like, it's a movie. It's supposed to be different. I don't want all movies to be realistic. Like, I want a break from realism and real life. And this was something different, totally different. Very well done. I'm a huge fan. All the actresses and actors in this movie did so fucking good. Maria actually plays, I've recognized she played in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, several of those movies. She is so fucking good. Even, Ingvar, Peter, all of them were so good in this movie. I definitely recommend this movie. I totally enjoyed it. So that's pretty much going to do it for 2021 Lamb. I appreciate y'all hanging around, listening to it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you'll stop by to let me know what your opinion is of this movie. Let me know if you'd fuck it, marry it, or kill it. Leave a comment, whatever. Instagram. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, on all the podcast streaming sites, the main ones. Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitch, Podbean. We're on BitChute, YouTube. If you want the video version of this, YouTube also, I release just audio and also the video. So go check us out, like, subscribe, but appreciate y'all coming along for the ride today. Like I said, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Fright Flick, Fuck, Marry, Kill. Next week's episode, just so you can go ahead and get a heads up and know what to watch, be prepared for, is going to be From the Black. It is on Shudder. You can stream it on Shudder. That's going to be next week's episode. Go ahead and check that out. But hey, that's going to do it for us. Another episode down. Thank you so much for the likes, the follows. Once again, I'm Jay, and no matter what you do, and I told you this last week, listen to me. No matter what, if you would rather fuck it, marry it, or kill it, always remember the wise words of Randy from Scream.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.